Okay, I want you to imagine something with me, just for a second.
Hmm.
Picture your typical Tuesday morning. The alarm goes off, maybe 6:30. You're groggy, you're shaking about coffee.
Right, maybe you trip over a shoe you left in the hallway. The
The
usual.
definition of mundane, exactly.
Yeah.
So you go to the doctor, and it's not for anything scary, just
Yeah.
your contact prescription feels a little off. You've been squinting at spreadsheets.
Like standard stuff.
Completely standard. It's the kind of appointment you just squeeze in before a lunch meeting. You're probably checking emails in the waiting room.
You are, but then you're in that chair, the lights go dim, they do the tests, and the whole tone in the room just changes.
Yeah.
The doctor isn't writing a new prescription. He's looking at you with that heavy clinical sympathy, and he gives you a deadline.
Not for a project.
Not for a project, not for a bill, a deadline for your site.
Yeah.
You are told, effectively, that you have 90 days, 3 months.
And
And then, permanent, irreversible darkness. It's a terrifying premise. It immediately strips away all the trivial noise of daily life.
everything.
When you get a timeline like that, suddenly the urgent email from HR doesn't matter at all. The only thing that matters is, what do I want to see for the last time?
That is the question. That's the question that anchors the story we are unpacking today.
Yeah.
We are doing a deep dive into Taste of the Dark by Nicole Fox.
Hmm.
Now, if you look at the cover or, the genre tags, you might see contemporary romance or billionaire boss.
Mm-hmm.
And sure, those elements are the skeleton,
They are.
but the muscle, the blood pumping through this thing, it is an intense psychological study
Mm-hmm.
on control, trauma, and sensory experience.
I was actually so surprised by how technical it gets. It's not just about people falling in love or fighting in boardrooms. It's about the intersection of like this insane high stakes corporate pressure and the very human need to feel grounded when your world is just dissolving. We're looking at culinary arts, rare medical diagnoses, the dynamics of a toxic workplace, all of it wrapped up in this 90-day countdown.
It's a pressure cooker.
Mm-hmm.
So let's set the table. Our protagonist is Aliana Hunter. She's 27, she lives in Chicago, and she's a senior project manager at Hale Hospitality.
And she is the type of person who has a plan for everything.
Oh, absolutely. Color-coded calendars, 5-year goals, the works.
Which makes her the perfect person for this to happen to in a narrative sense.
Perfect foil, yeah.
She defines herself by her competence, by her ability to manage chaos. And she works for Bastian Hale, who we'll get to in a minute. But just know that working for him is like trying to project manage a hurricane.
A hurricane in a very expensive 3-piece suit.
Exactly. Hale Hospitality is this massive, multi-billion-dollar empire. And right now, they're on the brink of launching their magnum opus, a project called Olympus.
Even the name Olympus tells you everything you need to know about the ambition here.
The ego. It's a 14-story complex that's going to have 12 different restaurant concepts. The goal is to revolutionize global cuisine. It's not just a building. It's a monument to Bastian Hale's perfectionism.
And the atmosphere inside the company is just...
High stress, fear-based, totally obsessed with detail.
And Ileana is the one holding it all together
Mm-hmm.
until she visits Dr. Haggerty.
Let's talk about this diagnosis because it's very specific and it's rare.
Right. So the condition is Leber congenital amaurosis, or LCA. It's a genetic condition that affects the retina, the part of the eye that captures light.
Okay.
Now, usually LCA is something that shows up in infancy. You'd notice a baby isn't tracking movement, that sort of thing. But in this story, the author introduces a variation where it's a late-onset degeneration.
Dr. Haggerty actually calls Eliana a medical anomaly.
Which is a label nobody ever wants to hear. In
Mhm.
medicine, anomaly usually just means unpredictable and aggressive.
Yeah, it's not good. He explains that her retinal cells are dying off at this incredibly accelerated rate. It's not a slow fade over decades. It's a cliff drop. And he gives her that 90-day window.
And I think we need to pause on her reaction here. Because if I were told that,
Mm-hmm.
I would be on the floor, I'd be booking a flight to see the pyramids or the Grand Canyon or something.
Anything.
But Ileana, she goes back to work.
It's a shock response, of course, but it's also such a huge character reveal.
It is.
When she's faced with this total loss of control over her own body, she doubles down on the one thing she can control, her job. She builds a facade. She calls herself a robot. She just sits in her cubicle, stares at the screen, and pretends the world isn't ending.
But then, the day ends, the office empties out, and she does something that I found just profoundly haunting. She starts to practice.
blind man's bluff.
Yeah, she turns off the lights or she closes her eyes and she tries to navigate her office floor. She's counting her steps.
10 steps to the break room, turn left, 15 steps to the elevator.
It's chilling.
And this is such a crucial scene for setting up the sensory themes of the book. She's trying to build a mental map while she still has the cheat sheet of sight.
That's a good way to put it.
But you notice the narrative itself shifts there. She stops describing things by how they look, and she starts describing them by smell and texture.
The smell of the industrial carpet cleaner, the hum of the HVAC system.
The cold smoothness of the painted drywall against her fingers. It's all about touch and sound.
But she gets bolder. She decides to venture into the executive's wing, the C-suite. This is like forbidden territory for a project manager.
Right, for mere mortals.
It's quiet, it's plush, and she's moving through the dark, feeling this mix of sheer terror and this strange, giddy rebellion.
Yeah.
She's testing her limits.
And that's when she hits the wall.
Except, of course, it's not a wall.
Not a wall.
It's a warm, breathing, very solid wall. She runs smack into Bastian Hale.
In his office. At 9 p.m.
Now, okay, obviously this is a romance novel, Beat the Collision. And yes, he is shirtless, because apparently billionaires just hate wearing shirts after hours.
It's in the contract.
It must be. But look at how the author handles the description. Eliana doesn't see him first.
No, she feels him.
Right. She registers the heat coming off him. She puts her hands out to steady herself, and she feels skin. She feels these ridges of scar tissue. Then the texture of a tattoo. These big eagle wings across his chest.
She essentially reads him like Braille before she opens her eyes.
I love that. And it's such great foreshadowing, right, for the kind of intimacy they'll eventually share, which is based on touch and presence, not just what they look like.
But the moment she opens her eyes and the emergency lights flicker on, the sensory connection is just severed. Reality crashes back in.
And reality is, he is her boss, and he's extremely annoyed.
Oh, more than annoyed. He's defensive. Bastian Hale is a man who cultivates an image of armor. Being caught like that, half-dressed, it's a vulnerability, so he instantly pivots to aggression.
He asks if she's wandering around looking for victims to grope.
He's so sarcastic. He calls the encounter a task failed successfully.
I laughed at that line. But it's also just so robotic. It shows how his brain literally categorizes everything as a process or a task.
Exactly. In that moment, Eliana is just a glitch in his operating system. And Eliana is just standing there, trembling, carrying this world-ending secret. She has this split second where she almost tells him.
You can feel it.
She thinks, I'm going blind. I'm scared. Help me.
But she looks at his face. And what does she see?
She sees scorn and weariness. She realizes that Bastian Hale is not a comfort object.
No.
He is a predator in his own environment.
Yeah.
And you do not show weakness to a shark.
So she bottles it up, she apologizes, scrambles out of there, and keeps her secret.
Which sets the stage for the next day. And if the night scene was about the physical tension, the morning scene is all about the emotional toxicity of this workplace.
Totally. Ileana's trying to shake off the night before. She stops at this amazing-sounding bakery, Grain and Gather.
Can we just talk about the food descriptions for a second? Because this book made me so hungry.
Oh, absolutely. The Kouin Aman, the brown butter croissants. It's not just pastries. It's artisanal, high-end comfort food.
And she drops $200 of her own money she probably needs for medical bills, soon to buy treats for the test kitchen staff.
This establishes her role in the whole ecosystem, doesn't it?
Yeah.
She is the nurturer. She's the buffer. Because the test kitchen at Hale Hospitality is described like a war zone.
The staff is terrified of Bastian.
They call him Le Bastard.
Which is hilarious, but also very telling. It paints him as this capricious, cruel tyrant. We learn about his management style, too. When he tastes a dish he doesn't like, he doesn't give constructive feedback.
No.
He takes a red marker and writes NGE on the rim of the plate.
Not good enough.
Just 3 letters that can completely destroy a chef's confidence. It's efficient, it's brutal, and it's completely lacking in any empathy. It treats the staff like malfunctioning machines.
So the staff is gathered around these pastries Ileana brought. They're getting a sugar rush, and they start blowing off steam. They're joking about Bastian.
Yeah.
And it gets pretty graphic.
It does. They're joking about his sex life. Or his presumed lack of one. They're saying he probably has KPIs, key performance indicators for moaning, that he times foreplay with a stopwatch.
It's the classic way the powerless reclaim a little bit of agency, right?
Yeah.
By mocking the tyrant.
Exactly. And Ileana, she gets caught up in the moment, and she makes a joke, too. She says, He'd probably write NGE on my ass with a Sharpie.
And cue the dramatic entrance.
Of course.
Bastian walks in. The room goes silent. The temperature drops 10 degrees. There's the food fairy incident. And honestly, I expected him to yell.
But he doesn't.
He's colder than that.
He's clinically cruel. He sees the donuts and the croissants not as a nice gesture, but as inefficiency. He calls it a social hour.
And then he walks up to the box of pastries that Eliana bought and just kicks it. Yeah. Kicks it across the floor.
That moment, it's so violent in a non-physical way. It's a complete rejection of comfort, of humanity.
It is. And then he turns to Eliana and he delivers a line that I think is the thesis statement for his whole character at this point in the book.
What's that?
He says, "You are not special. You are an employee, one of many."
Oof, that hits hard. Especially when you know that Eliana is dealing with the fact that she is special, medically speaking, in the absolute worst way possible.
Right. She has 90 days to live a full life, and her boss just told her she's nothing more than a replaceable cog in his machine.
That's the breaking point. The cognitive dissonance is just too much. She realizes, I cannot spend my dying light working for this man.
So she goes to lunch with her best friend, Yasmin, who is fantastic, by the way.
Oh, she's great. The kind of friend who would help you bury a body. No questions asked.
Totally. And Yasmin tells her to quit. Just walk away. Go see the world. And Eliana decides she's right. But then she gets back to her desk, and there's an email from Bastian.
The retaliation. He knows she was embarrassed. He knows she's unhappy. So he sends her a 58-page revenue analysis project.
58 pages of raw data.
Due by 5 p.m.
It's busy work. It's impossible. It's designed to break her.
It's a power flex. He's reminding her who owns her time. Who owns her.
So she snaps. She writes a resignation letter. She drafts a polite one, deletes it. Drafts an angry one, deletes that. Finally, she writes the scorched earth version.
I choose to spend my time on things that matter.
Yes. She prints it, marches into his office without knocking, and slams it on his desk.
This is a great scene because it completely flips the power dynamic. For a moment, usually he's the actor and she's the reactor. Here, she's taking action.
And Bastian, he doesn't even flinch. He picks up the letter, scans it, and then feeds it directly into the paper shredder on his desk.
While looking her right in the eye.
While looking her in the eye. It's such a ludicrous display of dominance. He literally says, "I don't accept."
As if it's a choice.
He refuses to acknowledge her agency at all. He starts listing the reasons she can't leave. The contract, the non-compete. He threatens to blackball her. Tells her she'll never work in this town again.
He is walling her in. But he can tell he's curious. He keeps pushing her. Why? Why now? You're the most consistent person I have. What changed?
He just keeps prodding and prodding until she finally explodes.
She screams it at him.
"I'm going blind."
And the room just stops.
The silence there is so heavy. This is the moment where, the genre conventions usually say he should soften. You expect him to rush around the desk, offer a hug, say, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry."
But Bastian Hale is not that guy.
Not even close.
No, he processes it like a computer. New data input. Employee losing sight. Timeline. 90 days. Conflict. Project Olympus launches in 90 days.
He immediately pivots to a negotiation.
Yeah.
He sees an opportunity.
It's the devil's bargain. He offers her $1 million.
$1 million.
Yeah.
To stay, to finish the project, to give him her last 90 days of sight.
But listen to how he sells it. He doesn't say, "Please stay, I need you." He says, "You need money."
Yes.
He points out that if she quits, she loses her health insurance. He brings up the cost of adaptive technology screen readers, canes, guide dogs. He mentions that gene therapy trials cost a fortune. He weaponizes her own terrifying future against her.
It's so brutally pragmatic. He tells her, reality doesn't care about your feelings. And on one hand, he's absolutely right. She does need the money.
Of course she does.
But on the other hand, it feels like he's buying her soul.
Which brings up a huge ethical question, right?
Yeah.
Is he saving her, or is he just exploiting her desperation for his own gain?
I think the answer is yes. It's both.
It's both.
And Eliana knows it. She accepts the deal, but she changes the terms. She pulls out a red pen using his own weapon, the red pen, and she marks up the contract.
I loved that.
She demands a driver. She demands specific hours. She demands that she gets to attend certain high-level tastings so she can, see them.
And Bastian respects that. That's the twist. He doesn't want a doormat. He wants a partner who can keep up with him, so they sign.
The clock is ticking, 89 days left.
But to really understand why Bastian is this way, why he's so obsessed with control and cleanliness and perfection, we have to dig into his backstory, because it turns out Bastian Hale is a mask.
Right. We have to talk about the Izotov connection. His real name is Semyon Izotov, and his family isn't just rough. They are the Bratva.
The Russian mob.
And that recontextualizes everything, doesn't it? Suddenly, his obsession with spotless kitchens and white tablecloths. It all makes sense. He grew up in a world of dirt, violence, and chaos. He's trying to build a world that is the exact opposite of his childhood.
And we see that embodied when we meet his brother, Alexei Izotov.
Yes.
Alexei breaks into Bastian's office, and the contrast is it's perfect visual storytelling. Bastian is in this sterile, glass, air-conditioned office. Alexei comes in smoking menthols, flicking ash on the pristine carpet, wearing a leather jacket.
He's the pollution in the clean room.
He is. And Alexei represents the debt that Bastian can never fully pay. We learn that the money that sent Bastian to culinary school in Paris, that was mob money.
The capital that started his first legitimate restaurant? Racketeering profits.
Bastian is trying so hard to be clean, but his entire foundation is dirty.
And Alexei is there because he wants to launder money through Project Olympus. Bastian refuses. But Alexei leaves a gift on the desk, a little wooden box.
White truffles.
Which triggers this flashback that I thought was so poignant. We see Bastian as a kid, Semyon, back then, hiding in a walk-in freezer at a mob-front restaurant called Tolstoy's.
The freezer is a recurring motif. It's cold, it's insulated, it's safe. Semyon is hiding from some terrible violence happening out in the dining room, and Alexei comes in and hands him a truffle. He tells him to smell it.
In the middle of all that fear and the smell of stale beer and blood, here is this incredible, earthy, expensive scent.
It's the moment food becomes his escape. It becomes the one thing in his life that makes sense.
We also learn about the third brother, Sage. Sage uses a wheelchair because of an accident related to the family business. An accident Bastian feels responsible for.
So this entire empire, it's not just ego, it's a fortress. He's building a castle to keep Sage safe and to keep the Izotov life out.
He calls it mise en place. We know that term from cooking shows, right? Everything in its place.
Yeah, you chop your onions, measure your spices, have your towels ready.
But for Bastian, it's a psychological survival mechanism. He has this mantra from a mentor, Chef Rippert.
Chaos in your head means chaos on the plate. If he can control the environment, he can't be hurt.
But, you know, life has a way of throwing chaos at you. Which brings us to the emergency at Quail's Egg. This is one of his existing restaurants. The head chef gets injured during a busy service. It's a disaster. Tickets are piling up. The kitchen is in the weeds.
And Bastian gets the call. Eliana is with him. She's basically his shadow now. They rush to the restaurant, and we see this transformation.
This was my favorite Bastian moment in the whole book. He walks into that kitchen, takes off the bespoke Italian suit jacket, rolls up his sleeves and puts on an apron, and suddenly the tyrant CEO vanishes. Semyon vanishes. He just becomes the chef.
He enters a flow state. He's not yelling, he's directing, he's sautéing, plating, expediting. It shows the reader, and more importantly, it shows Eliana, that he's not a fraud. He has the skill. He speaks the language of the kitchen fluently.
And he's actually happy. Or as close to happy as a guy like him can get.
Of course, the peace doesn't last.
No. Eliana is watching him, and they get into an argument over a dish that's being developed for Project Olympus.
The scallop dish. It's this super complex composition. Japanese scallops, Italian white truffle oil, hand-harvested sea beans.
And Eliana looks at it, and her project manager brain just kicks in. She says, perfect doesn't scale.
She starts talking about food costs, supply chain logistics, spoilage rates.
And Bastian hates it. He absolutely hates it because she is bringing boring, mundane reality into his art. She's poking holes in his perfection.
So he grabs her and drags her into the walk-in freezer to argue.
Back to the freezer. It's the only place he feels safe enough to lose control.
It is. But inside, the argument shifts. It stops being about scallops and it starts being about them. They're packed in tight among the shelves of produce. The cold air is nipping at them, but the body heat between them is just palpable.
And Eliana challenges him. She asks us, when's the last time someone surprised you?
She's attacking his oscillation. She realizes that his whole not good enough standard is just a wall. If nobody is good enough, nobody gets close enough to hurt you.
The tension is just, wow. He grabs her wrist. But he doesn't hurt her. He checks her pulse.
It's such an intimate, strange gesture. It's almost medical, but it's also possessive. He's checking her vitals. He's feeling the life in her.
It's the almost kiss moment. But then, ring, ring. His phone goes off.
And the spell breaks.
It does. but the dynamic has fundamentally changed. They aren't boss and employee anymore. They are co-conspirators.
Which leads us to the section of the book that I think justifies the deep dive title more than any other.
The sensory education.
The sensory education, yes. Bastian decides that if Eliana is going to go blind, he's going to teach her how to see without her eyes.
He takes her to a wine tasting at this fancy place called Coruscant.
He says he needs a date because he canceled on a ballerina, which is just classic billionaire behavior.
Yeah.
But he uses the entire night as a lesson.
He teaches her how to hold the wine glass. Like a lover, he says.
He's teaching her to engage her other senses. He tells her to focus on the weight of the glass, the smell of the bouquet, the way the liquid feels on the tongue. He says, develop the senses you'll have left.
It's pragmatic, but it's also incredibly caring in a very twisted Bastian Hale kind of way. He's giving her tools for her survival.
He is. And then they leave the fancy party and go to a place that is the total opposite, a dive bar called Mermaid's Purse.
This is a place from his past. It's run by an old friend, Dante, and it smells like brine and old wood and secrets. And they eat oysters.
Now, oysters are, a cliche aphrodisiac, but here they're used as a lesson in mechanics. Bastian stands behind Eliana and teaches her how to shuck an oyster.
The description here is very technical. He talks about finding the hinge. You can't just use brute force on the oyster. You have to find the weak point and wiggle the knife in until it gives.
Wait for it to give, he tells her.
That is a metaphor if I've ever heard one.
Oh, it's the central metaphor of their entire relationship. You can't force intimacy. You have to find the hinge. You have to wait for the shell to open.
And when they finally eat them, the descriptions are incredible. Kushi oysters, Kumamoto oysters, words like briny, metallic, sweet cream, cucumber.
Eliana is tasting the world with this desperate intensity because she knows her days are numbered.
And Bastian is relaxed there. He's laughing. He shows her his hands. He has scars from when he was learning to shuck oysters.
And that admission that he used to bleed, that he wasn't born perfect, it humanizes him completely to her.
But Eliana keeps it real. She looks at him and says, it's not 90 days anymore. It's 87.
She doesn't let him forget the clock. It grounds the romance in the tragedy.
Speaking of anchors dragging people down,
Well,
we have to talk about Eliana's mother, Georgia.
this is the parallel narrative. Just as Bastian is trapped by his brother, Eliana is trapped by her mother.
We get this scene where Eliana gets a frantic late-night call. Her mom is screaming that it's an emergency. And Eliana just freezes. She describes the flavor of fear.
Yeah.
She says fear tastes like bubblegum.
Which is a fascinating detail. It's synesthesia, a crossing of the senses.
And it comes from this specific childhood memory. She was eating a bubblegum popsicle while her mom's boyfriend was throwing a plate of spaghetti against the wall in a rage.
That mix of artificial sugar sweetness and violent terror. It shows that her trauma is encoded in her senses, just like Bastian's trauma is encoded in food.
Bastian insists on driving her. They go to Humboldt Park, a rough neighborhood, and on the way, to break the tension, Baby Got Back comes on the radio.
And they sing along.
I love this part. It's so absurd. The billionaire and the project manager driving into a dangerous situation, rapping Sir Mix-a-Lot.
It's a moment of shared, weird humanity.
It is. But when they arrive, the emergency is a lie. Or at least it's not physical. Her mom isn't hurt. She's drunk. She's hysterical because her latest boyfriend, Derek, dumped her.
And there's an eviction notice on the table. She's 3 months behind on rent.
Even though Eliana sends her money every single month.
This is financial abuse. It's what some people call emotional incest, where the child is forced to parent the adult. Her mother guilt trips her into promising another $1,200.
And Bastian stands in the hallway and watches all of this. He sees the poverty. He sees the mess. But he doesn't judge the cheap furniture. He judges the dynamic.
He recognizes it instantly. He knows that kind of emotional drowning. He looks at Eliana and says, it'll never be enough.
He knows what it's like to pour yourself into a black hole of a family member.
It creates this profound bond between them. Bastian is trying to save his brother from the mob. Eliana is trying to save her mother from herself.
And the hard truth the book posits is that you cannot save people who don't want to be saved.
You can only drown with them.
Which brings us to the end of this first major arc. Eliana has signed the contract. She is locked in for the remaining 87 days. And the dynamic has shifted from hostility to a sort of dark partnership.
They're no longer strangers. They have seen the ugliest parts of each other's lives. She's seen the mob brother. He's seen the drunk mother. There are no more masks.
So let's zoom out. What are the key takeaways here?
Well, first, I think it's that concept of mise en place applied to life. We all try to organize our chaos, we make lists, we have 5-year plans, Bastian does it with kitchens.
Right.
But life is inherently messy. You can't control everything. And the more you tighten your grip, the more it slips through your fingers.
Second, I think it's the value of sensory experience. We live in such a hyper-visual culture. Instagram, TikTok, everything is about how it looks. But this story asks, how do you taste the world? How do you feel it? If you lost your eyes tomorrow, what would you miss? And are you paying attention to those things right now?
That's a powerful thought. And finally, I'd say it's about the cost of loyalty. Both Bastian and Eliana are these incredibly competent, successful professionals who are personally held hostage by family obligations.
And the book forces us to ask, at what point does loyalty become self-destruction?
It's heavy stuff for a story that, starts with a shirtless boss in an office.
That's the brilliance of it, isn't it? It lures you in with the trope and then hits you with the tragedy.
It really does.
So here's the final provocative thought for you to chew on this week. Bastian is trying to save Ileana with money and with these sensory lessons. He's playing the hero in her story.
But he is actively refusing to save himself from his brother, from his past.
Can you really save someone else when your own house is burning down?
A very good question.
And the lingering one. What happens on day 91 when the project is launched, the $1 million is paid, and the lights are out for good?
That is the $1 million question, literally.
We will have to wait and see. Thank you for diving deep with us today into Taste of the Dark.
It was a pleasure.
Go taste something delicious today. Really, really taste it. We'll see you next time.